Llanowar Druid can add you infinite mana, make you draw your entire library, and drain your opponent's entire life total. You will need 8 mana on the field, and with the help of cards like Utopian Sprawl, Wood Elves, and Explore, is something that is easy to achieve. Then you need 2 combo pieces, First Day of Class and Grim Harvest. The combo sequence is as follows. You cast First Day of Class, to give haste to your creatures. Then play your Llanowar Druid, which now has haste. Flood your mana and sacrifice it to untap all your lands. Then you need to cast Grim Harvest, returning your Llanowar Druid to hand, and you recast it, repeating step number 2. The ability of Grim Harvest on your graveyard will trigger, and you must pay 3 mana to return it to hand, and then you repeat step number 2 to 4 to generate infinite mana, and kill them with Bloodright Invoker. Now, to find it you can draw your entire deck if you have a Muldrifter or a Yavimaya Elder once you have infinite mana, as you can keep returning them to hand with Grim Harvest. This whole sequence is somewhat hard to do in online, so don't try it unless you are this guy. But regardless of it, let's see how this deck performs against some meta decks. In the first match, we will play against one of the format's fastest decks, Azorius Affinity. The main goal of this deck is to ramp until we get at least 8 mana, utilizing First Day of Class, Llanowar Druid, and Grim Harvest. It may seem like a lot, but this deck ramps very fast. The question is, can we do it faster than Affinity Leaders draw the signature card? That's what we're trying to do, but the opponent is not making it easy as it deals tons of damage early in the game and draw cards of its own, until they eventually find their Glitters, so we move to game number 2. Both Cyber, Moment's Peace, and the Glamour should be good enough to give us the time we need to set up, and I am strongly considering main decking the Moment's Peace, but we will see how this one goes. Another option is to run a main deck Weather the Storm, which is cute when you are performing your infinite combo, but chances are that if you are doing it, you will be going for the win anyway. Regardless, despite the early pressure from the opponent, we are managing to draw our cards and lands to set up. We cycle our Yavimaya Elder to draw a card and trim our library. Then we play our Wood Elves to fetch an untapped cabin that can create a food token. Since we are at it, we also play our Llanowar Druid as they are tap out, and Affinity doesn't run many removal spells. They draw 2 more cards and pass. In our turn, I decide to get rid of the mana to slow them down while we find the rest of the combo. With the help of a cantrip, all that is left now is for us to find a 3rd black source for Grim Harvest to draw our entire library with Yavimaya Elder, as at 9 mana we will have enough to perform our combo. Still, the opponent plays an all that glitters and starts slamming a bunch of creatures, so before damage gets assigned, the plan is to eat some food and regain some life, putting us down to 11 for this turn. While Utopian Sprawl is not the draw I want to get, it's fine as giving us the 3rd black source, so we will just pass and prevent the damage for this turn. In this spot, I draw a land, and I decide to test my luck by casting the First Day of Class, revealing the introduction to Prophecy. I sent 2 cards to the bottom and luckily I got my missing combo piece. Now all I have to do is to tap my lands, untap them with the Llanowar Druid, float some more mana, then return the Llanowar Druid to hand, leaving 2 black mana open. We then play our Llanowar Druid, which gets haste thanks to First Day of Class, and we repeat the cycle. The opponent didn't want to die of boredom trying to see what this combo is about and scoop. On our 3rd game, we mulligan an unkeepable hand and are okay with a decent one that contains multiple draw spells. The plan is to fix our mana with Abundant Growth, and ramp ahead with both Explore and Wood Elves. It's worth noting that the Evoke and Grim Harvest work great together, as the sacrifice trigger on our elemental will return our harvest from the graveyard if we pay the mana. However, be careful as if you don't, the spell gets exiled, and you will have to wait until drawing a new one to perform the combo. Still, this is easier said than done, as they play an all that glitters on a frog. I am forced to chump not to take damage to the face. The good news is that I got some chump blockers I can use to mitigate the damage and always gain life for a couple of turns. A ninja hits the board, drew them a card, and I try to return a Muldrifter from the yard with Grim Harvest. But it meant a counter. Since they are tap out, now I am free to resolve both my creatures and pass the turn, so barbing another day. The opponent plays a creature and attacks, so I block and drew a card and 2 forests in exchange. I untap, and an Explorer and a Wild Growth get me in combo range, but I am still missing double black. That said, The Utopia Sprawl now fixes the issue, and all I have to do now is to cast First Day of Class, untap every land with the Druid, and start performing the combo. The opponent acknowledged the defeats, so we move to our next match. While this combo seems to be a bit difficult to maneuver at first, it is actually very easy once you learn the sequence of it. In our second match, we faced a favorable one against Tron combo. Still, keeping one land may have been too much risk, but we will try to pull the combo off with what we have. We soon are being pressured by two Mold Drifters, and while I play one of my own, I am still having a hard time trying to get to 8 mana, despite having all combo pieces in hand. The opponent attacks, plays a Mold Drifter, and back in my turn, I use an Explorer to draw another card but fail to hit the land. For now, all I can do is to play the Druid and Utopia Sprawl and pass the turn. Not that I may be forced to go for the combo next turn, but it will depend on what the opponent does on theirs. They put me down to 10 and a prologue to Privileges appeared, meaning that they now are starting to pressure me with poison counters as well. With them mostly tap out, and after drawing a land I need, I decided to use First Day of Class, which resolve, untap my lands, and this whole exchange of casting the Llanowar Druid plus the 5 mana from the Grim Harvest adds up to a total of 7 mana. So for each of my iterations I only get 1 mana profit, meaning that this sequence will be long. However, the opponent realizes this and scoops, so we move to game number 2. For game number 2, we move into a decent hand with multiple mana ramps, so we keep. While we will try to set up, the reason I say it's a favorable match is that our deck doesn't win by combat, meaning cards like Mom and Peace they may run become useless. The only thing we need to take into account is that they may run some counter Magic but Cyber, and as such we run Urza as well on top of also bringing some duress to foil their plans. We attack for a bit to deal some cheap damage, and the plan now is to sacrifice our Yavimaya Elder to search for a couple of forests. With our current setup, all we need to find now is the Elvish Druid to untap our land, as 9 mana means we can go infinite and draw our entire deck if necessary. We play Explore to get access to an extra land, and a Mold Drifter will help us look further into the library. We then attack and pass. Upon another turn cycles, a Lorwyn revealed to get access to an island. Play their land and pass back to us after returning an impulse to the hand. In my upkeep, I sacrifice my Elder so I get fewer chances to draw forest. I then cast an Explorer, sacrifice another Elder, found a Growth and pass the turn. If I can survive this turn, it's very likely that I can win on my next one. After drawing some cards for their turn and playing an artifact, the opponent passes, and with only 4 mana at their disposal, I think I can go for the combo right now. I use the Grim Harvest to return my Mold Drifter to hand, and play it to reveal my Llanowar Druid, but the opponent was not up for letting me perform the combo and conceded. While this deck has some explosive sequences, you need to be careful with your mana disruption. Otherwise, you may end up throwing away games where you can easily kill your opponent. Overall, it's a fun deck to play and would like to see it more in the Pauper environment.